Okay. Well, let's get going here. Welcome to our third session of our Beginning Care Farmer series, our third and final session of 2024 series. It is wonderful to see you all here. My name is Kate Mudge, and I work with the Care Farming Network. I'm going to be kicking our session off today and then quickly passing it over to Casey Armstrong, who will be walking you through our mentorship program. And also from Care Farming Network is Andrea on the call. We're going to have a presentation for about maybe 20 minutes, telling you hopefully all of the ins and outs of this new program that we're really excited to share with you. And then the rest of that time will be Q&A. So if you have questions, you are more than welcome to put them in the chat, but we thought maybe we'd get through all of the nuts and bolts of the program first, and then open it up for question and discussion. So just a reminder, as I've already mentioned, we had two other sessions in our second season of the Beginning Care Farmer series. Both you can find on our website. The first one was an overview of starting a care farm, where to begin, included a good amount of information about how to fund a care farm. And then last week's session was talking about business models and facility and land options. Kind of gets more into the nitty gritty of things to consider if you're looking at nonprofit, for-profit, location, land access, and a host of other things. So yeah, again, you can find the recording as well as a link to the shared resources on our website. With that being said, I am going to introduce Casey here, who has been doing all of the creation of this new program. So welcome, Casey.
Thanks, Kate. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Casey. It's great to be here with you all. I'm the program coordinator for CFN, which Kate may have mentioned. And this was definitely a co-creative effort. We're really excited to be launching this program this year. So very glad to be here with you all to talk about it. Um, I am going to invite you all to please check in the chat. A couple of people have already said hello, but we'd love to get a sense of who's here. So if you could just share your name, as well as if you have or are affiliated with a care farm, which farm that is and where it's located, so we can kind of get a sense of where we're all tuning in from tonight. So I'm going to keep on going, but please do go ahead and say and check it in the chat while I'm speaking, and I will put those prompts in right now. Please check in. I recently learned that my typing is very loud when I'm unmuted, so enjoy that. Um, just a quick glance at in a little bit more depth what we'll be doing with our time tonight. I'm going to, as Kate mentioned, walk through some of the detail. We'll take a little bit of a deeper dive into the program. So we'll look at the program goals, the structure and timeline. We'll talk a little bit about whether for whom this program is a good fit, um, the steps to applying to the program and the application itself. And then we should have enough time at the end for lots of questions and conversation. We're hoping you'll leave here with a clear sense of the program and how to apply and whether it's of interest to you. Um, we've got Maryland, we've got Kansas City, that's great. New York, I think I saw Kate's in Minnesota. I think I saw Berlin, Virginia. Awesome. This is great. It's really nice to see where everybody's calling in from tonight. Canada, welcome, welcome. Okay, so without further ado, I will tell you more about our mentorship program. Um, as I mentioned, we're piloting it this year in 2024, and so all of the existing details we're hoping will provide a sense of what this program is going to look like and be like. And nothing is set in stone. We're very open to and interested in being adaptable in this first iteration as we figure out what will work best. And so we just want to put that out there and say we appreciate your feedback along the way and any questions, and really want to make sure that this ends up being something that is well tuned to our network's needs. Um, the overarching goal of this program is to provide an opportunity for beginning care farmers in the Northeast of the United States who are working with or seeking to work with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And you'll see this IDD acronym throughout the deck. So that's what that's referring to. And ultimately, we're hoping to help these farmers advance their businesses and their care farming practices. The pilot will run from January of 2025, kicking off at our inaugural national conference. So two exciting things happening at once. And it will go through October. So it's about a 10-month program. And our goal for the pilot is to match 6 mentor-mentee pairs. That's kind of just our moving target of what we're hoping to achieve this first time through. And because our funding for this program is provided through a grant that we have from Northeast SARE, and I always forget what that acronym means. Maybe Andrea or Kate could plug it in the chat for me. Sustainable agriculture something. Um, the grant, which is focused on the Northeast region and care farms who are working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That's also who this program is focusing on, as I just mentioned prior. That's the reason why. And so we've listed here, you'll see this list again, but in terms of who's eligible to participate as a mentee or a mentor in this program, we're looking for folks who are residing in and farming in these Northeast states. Um, so yeah, we'll see this list multiple times and I'll come back to it, but for the purposes of our program, these are the states we're considering in the Northeast. So who are the ideal participants in a little bit more detail? And again, the detail being kind of open and adaptable, but this is kind of where we're who we're focusing on for this program. So in terms of mentees, which folks who will be mentored through this program, as I've already mentioned, mentorships are available to beginning care farmers. So you might be early in your career, your organization or your farm might be young. We'll talk through that in a little bit more detail later. But care farms and care farmers with the goal of employing people with IDD. We also are encouraging farmers with IDD to apply, folks who might want to start their own care farm as mentees for this program. Already mentioned, you must be located in the Northeast region. And lastly, mentees can participate as either individuals or as teams. So you'll see this on the application later. As long as there's one person who's going to kind of be the point person, the person responsible that we'll know who to look to throughout the program for that. It is perfectly fine to have a team from your organization participate as mentees in this program. Mentors have pretty some similar criteria in terms of location, in terms of ability to participate individually or as a team from their organization. And the mentors will be a pool of folks who are more experienced care farmers from longer established care farms who are currently employing at least one person with IDD. And lastly, I don't think this is on the slide, but if anyone is here with interest in mentoring, mentors will receive a stipend of $1,000 at the end of the program. Important fact. And so that's kind of the gist of, who the mentees and mentors might be in broad strokes. And as I've already mentioned, we're going to be creating the matches based on who applies from each kind of, the mentees that apply and the mentor pool that we are pulling from. And we're really going to be putting a lot of effort into making the best matches based on a couple of things. One is based on mentee learning goals and the mentor's area of expertise and making sure that those things align. And we also want to make sure there's similarity between mentee and mentor in terms of perhaps your care farming model, the activities you're doing, what you're growing, maybe where you are, making sure you're able to physically access one another. your care farming program structure, your funding model, et cetera. So we'll be looking for alignment in those areas as they pertain to your learning goals for this program as well. And then we just wanted to touch on a little bit of the various ways that this program might support mentees. We will ask you about your personal goals when you apply. And we've also listed here some of the potential ways that we could see people learning and growing through this program. So obviously, we're hoping people will build care farming skills, knowledge, and tools and advance their goals related to business planning, farm planning, program design, whatever your goal is. Um, we're also seeing this as a really valuable way to build relationships with experienced care farmers. Both the mentor that folks are working with, and also hopefully as you get more engaged in the network, and we'll talk about participation expectations in a little bit, you'll just start to build your network of peers. And this program could be an entryway to do that or a way to continue doing that. And lastly, mentees will also receive a $1,000 stipend upon completion of the program. And so we'll look at that later again, but another nice incentive there, hopefully to make a little bit of, invest in something for your business. I've already mentioned here, where our motivation for our program goals is coming from, but so maybe I won't go into too much more detail, but hopefully it's clear by now why we're focusing on the Northeast region and Care Farms working with IDD folks, and the application will ask about that too. So we'll kind of return to that later and see if there are any questions, but um, ideally, I guess the goal from our end is to support folks who participate as mentees in this program in moving towards that goal with us and for themselves. Okay, a brief program timeline overview. I will actually pause myself. I feel like I'm talking fast. We'll share these slides with you, right, Kate? We'll share these slides with you. So if this is a lot of info, you'll get it in your inbox soon. Um, and if any questions are coming up, please feel free to type them in the chat and we'll get to them at the end, or just make sure you're keeping track and we can scan back through these later. But this is a lot to take in, so I just wanted to put all that out there. So the program timeline, very broad strokes, looks like this. Our applications are open and they will close on November 1st. So there's about another 5 weeks to apply. Through November and December, we'll be matching, reviewing applications, reaching out to our mentors and making the matches between mentors and mentees. So you'll be hearing from us loosely in that time frame before the end of the year for folks who apply. And then the official kickoff of the program is going to be at our inaugural conference, which we can I'll share more information about in the follow-up email. I bet Andrea could put a link to the event page in the chat if I can put her on the spot again. But we're in the thick of planning that. We're very excited. It's going to be in Western Massachusetts in January. And we're hoping that that will be a great opportunity for folks to meet one another in person. February through September, the actual mentorship will happen, and we'll look at that in more detail in a minute. And then we'll close in October with a funding workshop for mentees, and completion of that workshop will result in receiving this mini grant or stipend that I mentioned earlier. So these are our participation expectations and hopes for participants in this pilot. They are at a minimum expectations. Um, we really, anticipate working with folks to support them and connecting with connecting with one another, and figuring out what meeting frequency will work best, and what they want to commit to doing with one another throughout the program. But kind of as like a minimal starting point, this is what we're looking for. So we're, as I mentioned, encouraging folks to attend our conference I'll also mention that we'll have scholarships available for that. So if cost is challenging, please look into that. Um, we'll ask that there will be at least two site visits, one to the mentee farm and one to the mentor's farm between the time frame of February and October. Um, and that in addition to those site visits, pairs will conduct monthly check-in calls, times where mentees can ask questions and just be more kind of connected and able to learn and talk in between those site visits, which will be the kind of deeper dive moments. We are thinking of hosting periodic, what we might call cohort sessions, which would be opportunities for all mentees or all program participants together to touch base, to really kind of cross-pollinate and talk about what is being learned and what's occurring inside the program and resource from and with one another. So that if we were to put something out like that, of course, we would ask participants to attend. Additionally, we'll encourage and keep people abreast of our monthly member gatherings, which Kate hosts, which are on a range of learning topics related to care farming and which you may have been to, are just ripe with great conversation. And lastly, of course, hoping that folks will be responsive and communicative, both within their pairs and with us. Um, Farmers are quite busy. That is really real. And so just kind of emphasizing this from the beginning that we'll need to be in touch with each other all along the way. Okay, got a few more slides here and then we'll open up to questions. Um, so I've kind of touched a number of times on criteria or good fit for this program. And we really wanted to kind of like dig into a little bit more concrete sense of what that might look like. With the awareness, as I've already mentioned, that we want to be adaptable and we want to encourage people who are interested to apply um, and kind of start that conversation with us. Um, but if this is helpful, here's to get more of a sense of who might be a good fit for this program and whether this program in turn would be a good fit for you. Here's a quick bullet point list. So must-haves are located in the Northeast, um, a clearly articulated vision and or mission. So if if someone is still really early on in the kind of dreaming or imagining phase of wanting to start a care farm, um, there are other resources available that might be better suited. Um, and eh, and a better way to kind of like get momentum going before you start this program. And so we're kind of using this like clearly articulated mission as just one little signpost for maybe where you're at in your progress or in your journey. And Andrea, please, or Kate, please chime in if you want to add to what I'm saying on any of this, because you are the experts on this. Um, Lastly, of course, again, just asking people to be realistic with themselves around their capacity to participate in a program like this. And that's kind of a self-check-in item here. So, additionally, we are looking at some combination in terms of describing what a beginning care, who might be a beginning care farmer, some combination of 1 to 3 years of farming experience and or experience working with folks with IDD. Additionally, it would be beneficial in terms of being able to really implement learning from this program to have existing access to land or financial resources or an idea of how to access those things. And so again, these are all questions we'll ask about in the application. Um, yeah, and I just really want to, I think, kind of emphasize like these are not hard and fast, like if you don't check these boxes, you're not eligible. They're more just to help people kind of get a sense um, of how to, yeah, who might be able to best take advantage of this program. I feel like I've said this ad nauseum, but priority is going to be given to applicants with demonstrated ability to hire new employees with IDD by October 2025. I'll try to say that 3 more times before we get off the call today. Um, And then Andre and I spent some time trying to kind of ask ourselves who might be a good fit for this program in terms of people we know, scenarios we're aware of. And so we just put here a few bullet points that might be helpful. Like this might be a good fit for you if your situation looks something like this. So maybe you're a current farmer who is interested in hiring a person with IDD on your care farm. So maybe you have a traditional farm and you want to start a care farming program, or you know somebody, you have someone in your life who you'd like to employ on your farm. You might currently be a care farm who wants to increase their current capacity to hire employees. So through funding or programming or just generally growing your care farm, that might be your goal and where you're at with it. Um, you could be someone who has worked on a care farm and is interested in starting your own care farm and has a sense of how you might go about that, and you really just need help getting started. Another example, you might be an experienced special needs teacher who would really like to partner with a farm to do job training. And there are other examples. These are just a few. But again, just really trying to kind of add some substance here to this kind of nebulous set of criteria. And if you should decide, or if you apply for this program and ultimately aren't selected, we've compiled here some resources and alternatives, and there are plenty, and we're happy to help you if you are interested in resources and alternatives um, to get the support that you need. And we just have some starter suggestions here. So if you are someone in the kind of dreaming and imagining phase, uh, Care Farming Network offers consultations with Red Wiggler Community Farm through which can't find the word sponsor sponsors the Care Farming Network, created the Care Farming Network. They offer an initial pro bono conversation, and you can pay for an additional sessions at a sliding scale rate. So that might be a good place to begin. We have a great resource library on our website that you can look through and scan through, and there's a lot in there for beginning care farmers. Additionally, as Kate mentioned earlier, we're wrapping up this year's care farming series, and we hosted this a series last year for beginning care farmers, and the recordings to those are all accessible. And lastly, you might want to look into other organizations that are local to your area around sustainable farming. So we've got a few of those listed here, and if you were curious for others, you could reach out and ask us, and we could point you in the right direction. Um, I will drop all these links in the chat right now, and you will get them in the email afterwards as well. Sorry, my spacing is not great there. And just to say this one more time, if you're not sure if this is for you, if you're not sure if you qualify, please apply. As you know by now, we have the ability to and are interested in being adaptable depending on who applies. We want to know who's interested in this, who's in the Northeast region, and how we can support you, whether it's through this program or otherwise. So please just send it in or shoot us a note if you're interested, but you're not sure. We're very happy to kind of help you through this process. Um, so we have this application form. I'll put the link in the chat to this as well. Um, bear with me. And I'm hoping this is the right link. I'm not great with Google Forms. I thought I might walk through it, but I'm recognizing this is a lot of information, and I'm wondering if that would feel helpful or like too much. Does anyone, if anyone wants me to go through it, what time is it? Maybe what I'll do is invite you all to look at it. Helpful? Okay. All right. Why don't I walk through it quickly, and then you have it and you can digest it later. I don't want to overwhelm anyone, but it could be helpful to look at some of the questions here. Before I begin, I'll also just emphasize the points on this slide. The information that is provided to us in these applications is what we're going to use to assess who might pair well with who. So we're asking folks to be thorough, even though it might take some more time in the responses on this application. And then again, please contact us if you get stuck. If you're not sure, let us know and we can help you through. Okay. So here's our application. It's a couple pages long. It'll start by asking you for your basic information, and I'll kind of just skim through that. It'll then ask you if you're applying individually or as a team. So if you're thinking of participating as a group, a little bit of upfront coordination to do. And then it asks you these questions that I mentioned earlier. So do you have any experience working with individuals with IDD? And please tell us about your farming experience. How many years of farming experience do you have? Are you currently farming? The next page is information about your care farm. And you'll see at the top, we're inviting you to tell us about your farm, your existing farm, or a vision that you have for your care farm. So if this farm doesn't exist yet, that's totally fine. So farm name organization or farmer organization name, website, location, your vision or mission statement, and a brief summary of your purpose or goals. Um, Questions about your farming activity. What are you producing on how many acres? Are you currently farming? What's your kind of land access situation? Where do you or would you market your products? And do you or would you work with individuals with IDD? And what kind of programming do you have or are you envisioning? Um, the third page of, I think, 4 is asking you specifically about your goals for participating in this program. And this is really where we're going to be looking to see who we would pair people with should they participate as a mentee. So first of all, why are you interested? What would success look like for you? And what are your personal goals or your overall goals? How would this program increase your capacity to provide paid employment for people with IDDs? Um, then we have this checklist of what you're most interested in learning about, and we're asking folks to select their top 3 areas of interest. And then we're also curious to know whether anyone and applicants have participated in other programs, trainings, kind of what you have under your belt so far, what you've already done in terms of your learning journey. And then the final page is about program expectations. And so really, these are yes, no questions, just making sure everyone applying is clear about what we're asking for. Um, we'll take this question off because we've already done the care farming series. But are you able to participate in the conference? Are you able to travel at least once to the mentor's farm and to host your mentor once? Are you willing and able to participate in the monthly check-ins with your mentor? Participate in periodic cohort sessions that we would host, and attend the funding workshop at the end of the program. So just reiterating the bullet point of participation guidelines that we walked through earlier. And that's the application. It'll probably take a little bit of time, but we're hoping that if you're articulating some of these things for the first time, that it will be a useful exercise. And again, all the information you provide will be really valuable in determining, who to match folks with who are participating. I hope that the link. Thank you, Andrea. I was going to say some of these are required, so Andrea's just put a PDF in of the Google form. That's amazing that you can look at and walk through fully. And I think that brings me to the end of my talking at you. I know that was a lot. I'm curious if there are questions. We've got about half an hour. And so how many folks are here? I'm wondering if we should you're welcome to put questions in the chat, but I would say also feel free to raise your hand, your real hand if you're on video, or your Zoom hand if you're not. And the raise hand feature is somewhere in your panel of buttons, I think. I can't find it anymore. It changes so much. But feel free to raise your hand. If you don't know how to do that, just unmute yourself or a small group. Would love to hear if there are any questions out there about the program.
I don't have a question, Casey, but I'm noticing when people were introducing themselves in chat, there are folks from outside of the Northeast region, which at this time is kind of a requirement for participation. I'm just curious from folks who are here learning about this, what might bring you here? I know that some of the resources that Casey was listing, like our Beginning Care Farmer series, might be helpful. But if there's any other questions that you have, if you're at this point in time ineligible for this round of the mentorship program, if there's anything that we can answer for you. Tracy mentions, yeah, they're moving their farm to Pennsylvania within the next 5 to 10 years. Is that what, I'm not sure if that's a question there, or Tracy, are you curious about your eligibility for the mentorship program if you're moving in 5 to 10 years? Oh, that's the reason that Tracy's here.
Hi, my name's Ayana. Can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so just looking at the requirements, well, I can't get my words out. I probably wouldn't be eligible for at least a year because I'm just starting like urban farm situation. And I don't know if you asked, but what brought me here is because I've been researching everything for like beginning farmers and this and that and everything else. And I plan to work with the population of folks that have that are differently able, so to speak. So my oldest son has autism, living and thriving with autism, and so I actually researched you guys so that I could find a care farm for him to kind of plug into to kind of get some therapeutic values and what have you. So, like I said, now that I'm looking, I'm like, oh, I don't actually qualify myself, yet because I don't have that at least a year under my belt yet, but I will though. So I'll be back for the next year.
What part of Maryland are you in?
Charles County in Southern Maryland. I'm in Bryant Road.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing, Ayana. And we're glad to have you here.
Can I just ask Casey, would there be an encouragement to maybe think about applying now? Or are we, realize I just asked a question that is putting you on the spot. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Sure.
I had an answer, but I'm curious what Andrea was going to say.
Oh, it's past the buck.
I think it's good to go ahead and apply. And because since this is our first year with this uh, program, we're not quite sure what interest we're going to get. And so, and there, as Casey was saying, there's some flexibility. So there might be a way to provide some consultation or ongoing help, even if you don't officially get into the mentorship program.
Good to know. Thank you so much.
Uh,
Thanks for sharing this. I'm reading Rebecca's comment in the chat. That's fascinating.
just in case folks aren't able to access chat, do we just want to?
Sure. Yeah. Good call, Kate.
Yeah.
I'll read out what I'm reading here. So Rebecca's written that they founded the first care farm for people with dementia in Canada, which is amazing. And they said, I find myself in a similar position of consulting and network establishment and knowledge sharing with other Canadians or folks working on care farms for people with dementia. So, not a question, just curious and appreciative of the work it takes to both care farm and separately develop a supportive community. Yeah. Well, we're glad you're here, Rebecca, and would love to stay connected about that conversation because I think it's two very unique experiences. And as you know and we know, community is really critical for this work. So we're glad you're here. And then Wilfred, can you pronounce your name correctly for me? I'm sure I messed it up. Wilfried.
Oh, it's quite good. It's Wilfried, but it's better for American people to call me Wilfred. Yeah.
Oh, Wilfried. Is it okay if I read your comment out from the
Yeah, yeah,
chat?
sure.
Or would you like to
Why not?
reiterate it?
Excuse me?
Would you like to share it out loud now that I've forced you off
Oh, I
mute?
can. So I put into the chat that I am not in a situation to ask questions about your mentorship program and how to apply to it because I won't apply for it being here in Europe and being a member of a work group for social agriculture, as we call it in Germany, doing the same as you do in US. And I'm part of the network, and I am starting at the very moment a care farm on our own here in Berlin, uh, coming at the moment from a meeting with a group of uh, parents with children with disablement. So we are working on it, how to get things working together for the children and in the farm. So, and I am here and thank you for having me. I'm very interested what you are doing over there in US. And so, yeah, there will be other uh, online meetings and I hopeful I can participate too because I think it's quite interesting and maybe helpful to make connections at one time in the future. Mhm. So that's much more than I wrote into the
Well,
chat.
as soon as we expand our mentorship program to Berlin,
Oh, yeah, see,
you're going to be encouraged to
yeah,
apply.
I
I'll
will
just
be
say
sure.
we have been looking, very optimistically towards care farms in Europe.
Yeah,
Y'all have been doing this for a while and eagerly anticipating learning from across the pond how that has happened and how, I mean, 3,000 care farms throughout Europe right now.
yeah.
So,
My colleague Thomas van Elsen, he's a lecturer on social agriculture, and he signed up for your newsletter, but he didn't find the time to be here anymore. He travels throughout Europe, visiting other projects, and in Norway and in Italy and so on. Yeah, and yeah, it's quite thrilling.
we'll wish you all the best
Thank
on
you.
your care farm.
Yeah,
So,
thank you. Thank you for having me.
thanks for coming. How late is it right now for you?
Oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. You
It's
see, it's
1 o'clock in the
early. Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
Okay.
That's commitment.
So you have to be very interested.
Um, well, great. I am reading Lindsay's comment, and this is one that I want to put Andrea on the spot again about. So Lindsay says, I've recently purchased property and am new to farming and have come from a mental health therapy background, looking to have the farm be therapeutic, but open to serving all populations in a therapeutic way and exploring if this is applicable to us. I'm curious, Andrea, if you have a thought on that and if I can put you on the spot again. It's a good example situation.
Oh, let's see. I do think that the primary population we're looking for is people working with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. So I do think that is a priority for this program. And especially focused on employment, and if not employment, job training and job skill development, I would say. So like even like a pathway to employment is currently what we're focused on specifically with this grant, since the overall grant's goal is to increase employment of people with IDD in the Northeast.
Thanks, Andrea.
Yep.
Can I just jump in there? Because we do have a lot of care firms that are kind of working in the mental health therapy field. I'm just going to put a plug in for consultations, where the first consultation is pro bono, or just allowing us, if it would be helpful, to connect you with some of these other care firms. Because one thing that we've really recognized about folks in the network is they are eager and willing to share information about how they have structured themselves and how they do their work. So, I mean, if that's just spending some time together, having a conversation, Lindsay, and doing those connections, lean on us for that.
It also might be worth making the plug again for the conference in January, because we are planning on having several sessions around research of the benefits of care farming and the impact, and also some sessions around mental health and on care farms.
I'm thankful to Becky and Rajani, who are just sharing in the chat. They're here just out of curiosity and to learn. Glad to have you here. And then I'm seeing Joanne's comment. Joanne, you're in New Hampshire. I'm curious if you're able to share more about your farm, if you're able to come off mute. And if not, just based on what you've written in the chat, it sounds like you might be a good candidate if you're interested in applying for the mentorship program.
I am off mute. I'll come on video as well.
Yay!
Well, I don't know how great I look. I actually have a farm, and I was just putting the goats to bed. So I'm trying to listen to this and get annoying goats to bed at the same time. So I have a farm in New Hampshire. It's called Fowl Manor Farm. I'm in New Hampshire. I'm actually a social worker, and I've worked with children with various behavioral disorders and intellectual disabilities and autism for about 25-ish years. I currently work, this might be interesting to the German gentleman. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names. I work at a place in Massachusetts called Shared Living Collaborative, and we are a social work agency with adults and children in foster care. But the agency also owns 4 or 5 farms, and we do care farming in the day as a day program. So I'm very interested in doing a similar-ish kind of thing in New Hampshire, because the agency I work for is not licensed in New Hampshire. I have talked a little to the people, I can't remember what it's called, the farming network, Farmsteads New England Farmsteads. That's a similar type of program. They do day services. And my chief executive officer is from Germany. So she has a background in a lot of the European way of doing care farms. So that's me in a nutshell. So yes, I've been here for 4 years. I do already have a young autistic man working for me who is my friend's son. And I'm looking to have more people here. I still work full time, so I am trying to work out how I can make the farm enough that I can be here full time. I have worked with the local school called Seacoast Learning Collaborative. They did a few days with me. But I have to kind of rearrange my schedule at work to accommodate them, and feel really bad when I say no. So that's probably more than you wanted to know, but there we go. So I will be applying for the mentorship. I really hope that I have a good chance of it. And these, few weeks have been I've really enjoyed it. So hello. And my dog wants to say hello. Sorry.
We love a dog cameo.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for sharing all of that, Joanne. It's great to learn more about
Oh,
you.
you're welcome.
Yeah,
I like to chat. You have to tell me to shut up sometimes.
very glad you're interested in applying. All right. Any other questions out there? Anybody else want to share kind of where they're coming from? Share about themselves? All right. Well, Andrea or Kate, anything else you want to add to this conversation before we wrap up?
I don't think so. There's going to be contact information on our website. So you can certainly find us via email, or any other ways that you want to get in touch with us. I just want to thank everyone for coming tonight, for being interested in the program. And we're really looking forward to a pilot. So hopefully this can expand to broaden and include more people, because I say this all the time, but all of these meetings that we put together and gatherings and getting to hear what brings people, to this work is almost makes me tear up. So it's just really inspiring stuff. So
Yeah. I'll reiterate that. Thank you all for your time and interest. It's been really lovely learning more about some of you, and yeah, hope to hear from you in virtual land. Look for the follow-up email, and yeah, please stay in touch.
thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
All right, have a great evening.
Well,